The bar's neon glow flickered across Julian's face as he leaned over the counter, his laugh sharp enough to cut through the haze of cigarette smoke. I watched him from the corner, my heart a clenched fist, as he tossed his head back and kissed another man, a stranger with a smirk and a leather jacket. It was deliberate, that kiss, a blade aimed at me after our fight, and it sliced deeper than I'd ever admit. We'd been unraveling for weeks. Julian, with his wildfire energy, had always been my anchor and my storm. We met 3 years ago at a Brooklyn art gallery, where his bold painting slashes of red and gold matched the way he lived, unapologetic, vivid, untamed. I was Ethan, the quiet photographer, capturing moments he set ablaze. Our love was a collision of opposites, fierce and fragile, but lately, his restlessness had turned to recklessness. That night at the bar, after I'd stormed out of our apartment over his late nights and half-truths, he'd found the cruelest way to hit back. I didn't confront him. Instead, I walked out into the biting New York winter, my breath clouding the air, and made a call that changed everything. My mother's voice crackled through the phone, calm but insistent. "Ethan, come home to Connecticut. Meet the man your father's chosen. It's time." An arranged marriage, some old family tradition I'd laughed off for years, suddenly felt like an escape. If Julian could kiss someone else to wound me, I could walk away and rebuild. The train to Connecticut the next morning was a blur of gray skies and regret. I hadn't slept, my mind replaying that kiss, the way Julian's eyes had flicked to mine before he leaned in. Was it spite? Or was he begging me to fight for him? I didn't know anymore. At the station, my father waited, his face a mask of quiet pride. "Ethan, this is for the best," he said, leading me to a sleek black car where a man named Liam Harper sat waiting. Liam was nothing like Julian. Where Julian was chaos, Liam was steady tall, with neatly trimmed blonde hair and eyes like a calm sea. He was a lawyer, successful, polite, the kind of man my parents dreamed I'd settle down with. We shook hands, his grip firm but warm, and I felt a flicker of something, curiosity, maybe, or just the absence of pain. Over coffee in a quaint diner, he spoke softly about his life, his work, his love for hiking in the Adirondacks. He didn't push, didn't pry, but his smile was an invitation to trust him. I didn't. Not yet. Back in New York, Julian's texts flooded my phone. "Where are you? Ethan, talk to me." I ignored them, each one a pinprick to my resolve. My parents' plan was simple: spend time with Liam, let him court me, see if tradition could outweigh my broken heart. I agreed, not because I believed in it, but because I needed to prove I could move on. Liam took me to a quiet bookstore in Hartford, where we wandered aisles of dusty novels, our fingers brushing over the same copy of Wuthering Heights. He laughed when I called it melodramatic, and I caught myself smiling, surprised by how easy it felt. Days turned into weeks, and Liam became a constant. We'd meet for walks along the Connecticut River, where he'd tell stories of his childhood in Maine, of building driftwood forts and chasing tides. His voice was soothing, his presence a balm to the ache Julian had left. But Julian wasn't gone. He showed up at my parents' house one night, his eyes red, his voice raw. "Ethan, I messed up." That kiss, it wasn't about him. It was about us. I wanted to scream, to shove him away, but his trembling hand stopped me. I told him about Liam, about the arrangement, expecting him to fight. Instead, he just nodded, defeated, and left. Liam sensed the shift in me after that. At a dinner my parents hosted, he pulled me aside, his hand gentle on my arm. "Ethan, I know you're carrying something heavy. I'm not here to replace anyone. I just want a chance to know you." His sincerity disarmed me, and for the first time, I wondered if I could let go of Julian's fire and embrace something softer, something real. By the end of the month, I was splitting my time between Connecticut and New York, torn between two worlds. Julian's apologies grew desperate, his paintings darker, each canvas a plea for forgiveness. Liam, meanwhile, was patient, taking me to a jazz club where we swayed to a saxophone's mournful notes, his hand steady on my back. I felt myself slipping into his orbit, drawn to his quiet strength. But Julian's shadow lingered. One night, alone in my apartment, I found an old photo of us, Julian laughing, me behind the camera, both of us unaware of the cracks forming. I cried until dawn, unsure if I was mourning what we'd lost or what I might never have with Liam. The choice loomed like a storm on the horizon. Julian's chaos or Liam's calm. My heart or my head. I didn't know then that the answer would come not from either of them, but from a moment so raw it would strip away everything I thought I understood about love. Spring bled into summer, and New York's heat pressed against my skin as I stood outside Julian's studio. His latest text to single, "I Need You," had pulled me back to Brooklyn, despite my resolve to let him go. Inside, the air smelled of paint and regret. Julian stood before a half-finished canvas, his hands smudged with blue, his eyes hollow. "Ethan," he whispered, stepping closer, "I'm drowning without you." I wanted to hate him, to walk away from the mess he'd made, but his voice cracked something open in me. We talked for hours, his words a tangled mix of apologies and promises. I left without answers, my heart a battlefield. Back in Connecticut, Liam noticed the war in my eyes. We drove to a secluded lake, the water mirroring the sky's fading light. Sitting on the shore, he handed me a smooth stone, his fingers lingering on mine. "My mom used to say you can't force love, Ethan. It's either there or it isn't." His words stung, not because they were harsh, but because they were true. I told him about Julian, not the kiss, but the history, the love that had once felt invincible. Liam listened, his face unreadable, then said, "I'm not asking you to forget him, just to see me." That night, under a blanket of stars, he kissed my forehead, a gesture so gentle it felt like a promise. My parents pushed harder for the arrangement. At a family dinner, my mother's eyes gleamed as she spoke of Liam's stability, his future. My father, more direct, said, "Julian's a wildfire. Ethan, he'll burn you out." Their words echoed my fears, but they didn't know Julian's laugh could light up a room, or how his art made me feel alive. They didn't know Liam's quiet strength made me feel safe, either. I was caught, loving two men in different ways, neither enough to silence the other. Julian's next move was a gallery show, his paintings a raw confession of our story. I went, against my better judgment, and found myself staring at a portrait of Usme, face half hidden, Julian's eyes pleading. The crowd buzzed, oblivious to the real pain on the canvas. He found me in the corner, his voice low. "This is me fighting for you, Ethan. I'll do better. I swear." His hand grazed mine, and for a moment, I believed him. But as I left, Liam's text lit up my phone. "Meet me at the pier tomorrow." Simple, steady, real. The pier was crowded, families and couples weaving through the summer air. Liam stood by the railing, his smile soft but sure. We walked, sharing ice cream, laughing at nothing. He told me about a case he'd won, his pride quiet but infectious. I told him about my latest photo project, capturing the city's hidden corners. For a few hours, Julian didn't exist. But when Liam dropped me off, he paused, his hand on the car door. "Ethan, I'm falling for you. I need to know if you're falling too." I couldn't answer, not with Julian's paintings still burning in my mind. Days later, Julian showed up at my apartment, unannounced. He was sober, focused, a version of himself I hadn't seen in months. "I'm getting help," he said, his voice steady. "Therapy, meetings, whatever it takes. I love you, Ethan. I always have." He pulled me into a hug, and I let him, my resolve crumbling. But as he left, I saw Liam's car across the street. He'd come to surprise me, his face a mask of hurt before he drove away. My chest tightened. Had I just lost something I didn't even know I needed? I chased after Liam, calling him, but he didn't answer. In Connecticut, I found him at his office, his expression guarded. "I saw you with him," he said, voice low. "I can't compete with that kind of history." I tried to explain, to tell him Julian was my past, but the words felt hollow. Liam deserved more than half my heart. That night, alone, I realized I was running from the truth. I was afraid to choose, afraid to lose. The summer stretched on, each day a tug of war. Julian's efforts were real weekly therapy. No more late nights. Paintings that showed a man trying to heal. Liam, meanwhile, gave me space but didn't pull away. He invited me to a charity event, where we danced under string lights, his hand warm in mine. "I'm still here," he whispered, and I felt the weight of his patience, his hope. But Julian's face haunted me, his promises a siren song I couldn't quite ignore. By August, I was exhausted, torn between two men who saw different versions of me. Julian saw the dreamer, the one who thrived in chaos. Liam saw the man I could be steady, grounded, loved without fear. I knew I couldn't keep them both, but the thought of losing either felt like losing a part of myself. The answer came unexpectedly, on a quiet night that broke everything open. The air was thick with the scent of rain as I stood outside Liam's apartment in Hartford, my heart pounding like a drum. I'd driven through a storm to get here, my mind made up after a sleepless night of truths I could no longer dodge. Julian's kiss in that bar had shattered something, but it was Liam's quiet faith in me that made me want to be whole again. I knocked, and Liam opened the door, surprise flickering across his face. "Ethan, you're soaked," he said, pulling me inside. His apartment was warm, books stacked on every surface, a soft jazz record spinning in the corner. I didn't waste time. "I choose you," I blurted, my voice raw. "I don't know if I'm ready, but I know I want to try with you." His eyes softened, but he didn't speak, just took my hand and led me to the couch. We sat in silence, the rain tapping the windows, and I felt a peace I hadn't known in months. The next day, I met Julian at a coffee shop in Brooklyn. His hands trembled around his mug, his eyes searching mine for hope. "I'm letting you go," I said, each word a weight lifted. "You're getting better, and I'm proud of you, but I can't be your anchor anymore." He nodded, tears falling, and for the first time, I saw him accept the truth. We hugged, a goodbye that carried all our history, and I walked away, lighter but aching. Liam and I started slow. Dates at farmers markets, late-night talks on his balcony, moments that built something new. He wasn't Julian's fire, but he was a steady glow, a light I could trust. My parents were thrilled, their vision of tradition seemingly fulfilled, but I knew this wasn't about them. It was about me choosing a future I could believe in. Liam's patience, his quiet humor, his way of seeing might was a love I hadn't known I needed. But Julian's shadow lingered. I'd see his name on a gallery flyer or hear his favorite song on the radio, and my heart would stutter. One night, Liam found me staring at an old photo of Julian and me, my face tight with guilt. "You don't have to erase him," Liam said, sitting beside me. "He's part of who you are. Just let me be part of who you're becoming." His words broke something open, and I kissed him, not out of desperation, but out of certainty. It was our first real kiss, and it felt like coming home. Months passed, and our life together took shape. We moved in together in a small Hartford apartment, our days filled with shared routines, coffee runs, movie nights, hikes where Liam taught me to spot constellations. But the past wasn't done with us. At a gallery opening I attended for work, I saw Julian across the room. He looked healthier, his smile genuine, a new man at his side. We talked, briefly, and he thanked me for letting him go. "You were right," he said. "I needed to fix myself first." It hurt, but it healed, to a final release. Liam proposed on a snowy evening, under the same cherry blossom tree where we'd had our first real date. It wasn't grand, just a simple ring and a question, his breath visible in the cold air. I said yes, my heart full, not because he was perfect, but because he was mine. Our engagement party was small, just family and close friends, but my parents' pride was palpable. They thought they'd won, that their tradition had saved me. I let them believe it. Knowing the truth, I'd saved myself by choosing love over pain. As we planned our wedding, I started a new photo project, capturing moments of queer love across the city, couples holding hands, laughing, fighting, living. It was my way of honoring what Julian and I had, what Liam and I were building, and every messy, beautiful story in between. One night, Liam looked through my photos, his arm around me. "You see the world so clearly," he said. "I'm lucky to be in it." I leaned into him, grateful for a love that didn't demand I change, but let me grow. The wedding was months away, but I already felt married, not to an idea, not to tradition, but to Liam, to us. Julian sent a painting as a gift, a quiet landscape with two figures in the distance, holding hands. It hung in our living room, a reminder that love, even when it breaks, can lead you somewhere better. I wasn't the man I'd been with Julian, nor the one my parents had tried to mold. I was Ethan, flawed and whole, loved and loving, ready for whatever came next. The morning of our wedding dawned crisp and bright, the Connecticut sky a canvas of blue. Liam stood in our bedroom, fumbling with his tie, his nervous laugh filling the space. I stepped in, fixing the knot, my fingers steady against his chest. "You're stuck with me now," I teased, and he kissed me, his lips warm and sure. The ceremony was small, in a garden overlooking the river, with flowers woven into arches and our loved ones' faces glowing with joy. As we exchanged vows, I promised to choose him every day, not out of duty, but because he made me want to be better. The reception was alive with music and laughter, tables spilling with color and light. My sister gave a toast, her voice breaking as she spoke of watching me find myself. Liam's best friend, a gruff lawyer with a heart of gold, joked about Liam's terrible cooking, earning a playful shove. We danced under string lights, my head on his shoulder, the world fading to just us. For the first time, I didn't look back, didn't wonder about Julian or what might have been. This was enough. Life after the wedding settled into a rhythm that felt like home. Liam's law firm took on pro bono cases for queer youth, and I joined him, photographing their stories to raise awareness. Our apartment became a sanctuary, filled with books, art, and the smell of coffee. But love, I learned, wasn't just the big moments. It was Liam bringing me tea when I worked late, me surprising him with hikes when he was stressed. It was the quiet, steady choice to stay, to build, to trust. One evening, a year later, we sat on our balcony, the city humming below. Liam handed me a letter from Julian, forwarded from my old address. It was short, written in his familiar scrawl. He was engaged, happy, painting again. "I'm glad you found your peace," he wrote. I folded the letter, my heart calm. Liam squeezed my hand, and we watched the sunset. No words needed. Julian's story was his own now, and mine was here, with Liam, in a life we'd made together. My photos gained traction, landing in a small gallery show. The centerpiece was a shot of Liam, laughing in the rain, his face unguarded. Visitors lingered, drawn to the love in his eyes, and I realized I'd captured something universal, the beauty of choosing love after loss. The show raised funds for a local LGBT center, and Liam stood beside me, proud, as we cut the ribbon. "You're changing lives," he whispered, and I knew he wasn't just talking about the photos. Looking back, I saw the arc of my story, not a straight line, but a winding path through pain, choice, and redemption. Julian's kiss had broken me, but it had also set me free to find Liam, to find myself. The arranged marriage, my parents' relic of tradition, wasn't what saved me. It was the courage to let go of what hurt and embrace what healed. Liam wasn't a replacement or a compromise. He was my truth, my home, my love. As we approached our second anniversary, I planned a surprise trip to the Adirondacks, where Liam had first told me about his childhood dreams. We hiked to a peak, the world spread out below, and I gave him a photo album every moment we'd shared, from our first date to our wedding day. He flipped through it, tears in his eyes, and pulled me close. "I didn't know I could love like this," he said. I kissed him, the wind carrying our laughter, and knew I'd found something rarer than fire, a love that grew, steady and strong, through every season. Our story wasn't perfect, but it was ours. And as I stood on that mountain, Liam's hand in mine, I understood the truth at the heart of it all. Love isn't found in grand gestures or perfect plans. It's found in the quiet moments, the hard choices, the courage to keep going. Julian taught me passion. Liam taught me peace. And I, Ethan, learned to love myself enough to choose both wisely.